Hello and welcome to this video. Today, you're going to add the top 10 phrasal verbs to your vocabulary. Of course, I'm Jennifer from jforcedenglish.com, and this channel is dedicated to helping you feel confident speaking English in public so you can take your career and your life to the next level. Now, before we go any further, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. Now, let's get started with this video. Are you ready to add the top 10 phrasal verbs to your vocabulary? Now make sure you watch right to the end because I'm going to quiz you so you really feel confident using all your new phrasal verbs. So let's go with number one. Number one, to come around to an opinion or an idea. And this means to change your opinion or to see a new point of view. Now notice the sentence structure because we have two prepositions, around and to, and then after to, we need something. We need a noun, an opinion, or an idea. For example, I came around to the new job after I heard about the benefits package. So remember, this means you changed your opinion. So previously, you didn't want the new job, but now you've come around to it. So you've changed your opinion. Now you want the new job because you heard about the benefits package. We commonly use this without the preposition to and without specifying the something when the something has already been mentioned. For example, at first I didn't want to move to Boston, but I came around after I visited. So notice, I didn't say I came around to something because the something had already been mentioned. So I came around to the idea after I visited. Number two, to get across a point or a message. And this is when you clearly and effectively communicate a point or a message. For example, make sure you get across that the project is over budget. So if you're having a meeting with a client and your boss has this very particular message or idea, the project is over budget. And your boss wants you to communicate that in a clear, effective way. Your boss wants to make sure you get that across. Now, we also use this when you're talking, and the ideas aren't really coming out very well. And after a while, you stop and you say, what I'm trying to get across is, and then you state your point. What I'm trying to get across is, the project is over budget. Number three, to show off. This is when you deliberately display your skills or abilities in a way to impress other people. Now, this is frequently used in the negative. Don't show off. Don't show off. But there's definitely a time and a place when you want to show off. For example, when you're going to a job interview, you shouldn't be modest. You should show off your skills and abilities. You should talk about all your awards, your accomplishments, your degrees, the compliments you've received. You want to show off all of your experience to the interviewer. So an interview is the perfect time to show off. Also, if you're going for your IELTS exam, you don't want to be modest with your knowledge of the English language. You want to show off your abilities by using a range of grammatical structures and a range of phrasal verbs and idioms and expressions. You want to show off to the interviewer. Number four, to count on. Now, this is exactly the same as to rely on or to depend on. So you have three different phrasal verbs, all with on, that mean the exact same thing. And this is, of course, when you trust someone or something to complete a specific task or objective. For example, I can always count on Selma to stay late. So you can trust Selma to complete the specific task or objective, which is to stay late. And remember, you could replace this with rely on. I can always rely on Selma. Or depend on. I can always depend on Selma. Now, we frequently use this in a question response. For example, can I count on you? Can I count on you to close the deal? And then you can reply back and say, absolutely, you can count on me. Number 5, to come between. Now, this is when something disturbs a relationship. And that relationship can be a professional relationship, a social relationship, romantic, family relationship. It can be any kind of relationship. For example, Jacob and Marcus were best friends until Sylvie came between them. So that's the image you could have. They were close, Jacob and Marcus, but then Sylvie came between them and now they're divided. Sylvie disturbed their relationship. Now, it's very common for a girl or a guy to come between a relationship, but it doesn't have to be a person. It could be that Jacob and Marcus were very close, but the promotion came between them. The new job came between them. Their family came between them. Their politics came between them. Their religion came between them. It could be anything came between them. Money is a good one as well that comes between people in relationships. And remember, you can use this in any type of relationship. Number 6, to put up with something or someone. And notice this is a 2-preposition phrasal verb, put up with. Put up with. And we use this to say that you tolerate bad behavior or unwanted behavior, to put up with. For example, I don't know how you put up with your boss. I don't know how you tolerate your boss. Now, of course, we can be more specific and specify the action that the boss does. I don't know how you put up with your boss's constant criticism, for example, or your boss's distasteful jokes, for example. I don't know how you tolerate it. Now, we commonly use this to say, I'm not going to put up with, and then the behavior. I'm not going to put up with your constant criticism any longer. Number 7, to bounce back. Now, to bounce back, this is when you recover or recuperate. Now, you can use this when you recover from a negative situation in a business context, like for example, a bad sales quarter or a bad product launch, for example. But it can also be when you recover or recuperate from an illness. So you can use it in both those situations. For example, in a workplace situation, you could say, I don't know how we'll bounce back from our loss in Q2. So I don't know how we'll recover. And then you could have a discussion. How can we bounce back? Does anyone have any ideas on how we can bounce back? Now, in terms of recovering or recuperating from an illness, you could say, it took me a while to bounce back after my surgery. So it took me a while to recover, recuperate. Number 8, to act up. This means to behave badly or strangely. This is very commonly used with parents describing the actions of their young children or even their older children. My son keeps acting up, behaving badly. But we can also use this with devices and objects. For example, my computer keeps acting up, behaving strangely. My computer keeps acting up. I hope it doesn't break. Number 9, to make it up to someone. This is quite a long one, so pay attention to this sentence structure. To make it up to someone. Now, we use this when you try to compensate for a wrongdoing. For example, let's say it's your best friend's birthday and you can't go for whatever reason. So this is the wrongdoing, not going to your best friend's birthday party. Now, if you want to compensate for that wrongdoing, you could say, I'm so sorry, I can't make your birthday party. I promise I'll make it up to you. I'll make it up to you by taking you out for a nice dinner. I'll make it up to you by going to the movies with you. I'll make it up to you by buying you a really nice present. So those are the ways you're going to compensate. Now you might be wondering, what is this it? The make it up to someone? We use it with it because what you're trying to compensate for has already been explained, so you don't have to say it again. Now you can use this in a business context. Let's say you went over budget on a client's project and you might say to your team, how are we going to make it up to the client? How are we going to compensate for our wrongdoing? The wrongdoing is you went over budget. And then maybe someone would suggest we can make it up to them by offering a discount or offering a free product, offering an extra service. So those are how you're going to compensate for the wrongdoing, to make it up to someone. Number 10, to barge in. When you barge in, you enter a place, a location unexpectedly, and you interrupt whatever's taking place. For example, I was in my office working and this kid just barged in and handed me his CV. But later, I hired him. So by saying the kid barged in, it implies that he didn't have an appointment, he wasn't expected, he just barged in unexpectedly and he interrupted whatever I was working on. But in this case, it was successful because he got the job. And now you have the top 10 phrasal verbs added to your vocabulary. So are you ready for your quiz? Here are the questions for the quiz. You need to complete each sentence using the correct phrasal verb. So go ahead and hit pause now and complete the quiz. All right, so was that quiz easy, difficult? Well, let's find out. Here are the correct answers. Go ahead and hit pause and see how well you did. So, how'd you do with the quiz? Make sure you share your score in the comments below and also leave some example sentences practicing your new phrasal verbs in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe. And before you go, make sure you head on over to my website, jforrestenglish.com, and download your free speaking guide. In this guide, I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. And until next time, happy studying!